Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 49 of the Drop It Weight Loss Wellness Wisdom Podcast. This podcast is tailor-made for those of you with weight to lose, those of you that are losing weight now, and also those of you that are bathing in the success of your weight loss accomplishment. If it's your first time on the show, welcome. I'm your host, Nick Geoppo, and almost 6 years ago, I lost 110 pounds after a lifetime of losing weight and then gaining it back every single year on every single diet you, me, or anyone else in the whole damn world has ever heard of or ever tried. I always lost weight and I always gained the weight back. What I learned was the way you lose weight dictates how sustainable your results are. And if you can't do it for life, then don't do it to lose weight, because eventually you'll end up quitting and just gaining the weight back the same way I did for years, in the same way you probably have done before if you resonate with my story and if you have made it 49 episodes into this podcast series. What I did in 2019 was I built a system for myself called the Common Sense Diet. And it's not really a diet. It's a permanent lifestyle and sustainable lifestyle change framework that I still exist in to this day. And it doesn't suck. The reason why it doesn't suck and the reason why I can do this forever and my clients that are a part of my program are also doing this forever and seeing the same results is because it changes your baseline habits. So over time, you start naturally doing healthy things without it being a pain in the ass. If you'd like to have a similar transformation and you want to work with me to make it happen, then let's fucking do it together. Click the link in the description of this podcast episode to fill out an application, and it will take you straight to my calendar to book a call with me directly to see if this is something that might be right for you. And if it is, then we'll do it. And if it isn't, then I'll do everything I can to point you in the right direction of something that may help you get the permanent results that you actually want. My voice might sound a little different in this podcast episode. I'm on day 3 of a really brutal cold, and it got me thinking it's been a couple years at least since I've been really sick or feverish or had a runny nose or a cough. And that's one of the best things about not losing weight and being skinny, but about actually being healthy and living a healthy lifestyle and eating a diet of mostly whole, real, natural, healthier foods and healthier options is you just don't really get sick the same way anymore. So when you do, it really, really, really stands out. And it had me thinking about when I was fat as fuck, how I used to handle being sick. And I would handle it by just laying down in bed and watching TV or smoking weed. I'd even drink. Like sometimes I would drink alcohol when I was sick just because I was so fucking bored and didn't want to move. But I would order pizza and order all this bullshit. And I almost liked being sick when I was fat because it was like an excuse to live the lifestyle that I was already kind of living a little bit, but to just not feel bad about it. Like when I was sick, I didn't feel bad about the unhealthy options or the unhealthy choices that I was making. It's interesting now, 5 or 6 years later, I'm sick and I'm like sitting there going, oh my God, I do not want to be laying here on the floor laying in the bed or laying down on my mat on the floor or resting on the couch. And it had me really missing all of the things that I do day to day and really missing being outside, missing going to the gym, missing walking, didn't have a ton of energy to cook food. So I was missing that. And I found myself really craving healthier options in a way. I always crave healthy foods. Well, I shouldn't say that. 95% of the time I crave healthy foods. But I really was craving a lot of fruit, blueberries, dates, apples, oranges, pineapples, a lot of meat, beef and steak in particular. When I was sick, it was harder for me to get those things, and I really found myself craving them. And that just really goes to show your taste buds really change over time. And this is something that 2 of my clients who I've talked about on this podcast before, Mari and James, I've been working with them both for somewhere in the 4 to 5 month range. They've both experienced a taste bud change. And they've noticed this by when they go back to eat the same shit that they used to eat all the time, like Reese's Pieces, right? Or Reese's candy or peanut butter cups. It doesn't have the same taste to it that it had before. And that's because their defaults are changing. When your defaults change, you just don't want the shit that you wanted before the same way. And that's been my experience being sick. So my voice is going to sound a little bit different this episode. And That is okay. We're fever-free for the first time in 4 days this morning, and that feels amazing. The topic of today's podcast episode is I will be fat forever. Have you ever said that? Have you ever thought, seriously, have you ever thought, you don't have to tell anybody, it's just me and you, that you will be fat for the rest of your life? And the inspiration for this episode comes from a guy that I met recently at a fitness event here in Austin, Texas. And he was talking to me about mental health. And he's a mental health advocate and had shared his own struggles with mental health online and with me. And this is my first time ever meeting this guy, but I had seen him online before. And he's telling me a bit about his story. And he says, yeah, well, I'll always struggle with this. And then he just kind of kept talking. And I paused him. I said, why will you always struggle with this? And he went into this really elaborate story about how, his family struggled with this and these hardships growing up. And this is how he responded. And these things happened when he was a kid. And then this is how he worked through it. And then he wired his, and after like a minute and a half of him talking, I just said, hey, I know we don't know each other very well, but would you mind, are you open to hearing what I feel like you need to hear right now? He goes, yeah. And I go, do you like feeling like that? Do you like struggling with this? In his case, mental health issues. And he says, no. I said, do you desire to not struggle with it anymore? And he says, yes. And I said, how the hell are you ever going to stop struggling with it if you're telling me, someone that you don't even know, we just met the first time, that you will struggle with this forever? And he didn't entirely understand what I was saying. I repeated it and said, how can you work through something that you're telling a stranger you will struggle with forever? And I just let that sit with him for 15, 20 seconds before he responded. And he was like, you're right. You're right. I mean, you can't. The reality is that so much of this comes down to language. How could you ever lose weight if you're thinking or saying or telling other people that you'll be fat forever? If you're telling me that you'll always struggle with food, how could you ever work through? You're not even giving yourself the opportunity to win. How are you going to give yourself the opportunity to win? But the other side of that is that it makes sense. It makes sense that you feel like that. I felt like that in my own story, right? Every year from 2013 to 2019, I lost and then gained back. I'm always changing the number. Somewhere between 50 and 65 pounds, maybe 45 and 65 pounds every year. It varied depending on the year and depending on how the diet that I was partaking in. The chicken, broccoli, and rice diet had the most results the fastest, but I gained the weight back the fastest also. So don't recommend trying that. Very strict. After I had lost the weight and gained it all back, 2019 was when I really committed to going all in on this idea of losing weight. And you've heard my story before. You've seen my videos on Instagram. That's when I was recording myself and coaching myself through sustainable weight loss the way that I now coach it to my clients. Now, the difference is that back then, nobody was really talking about sustainability. Nobody was coaching lifestyle changes over diets. And still really seems like nobody is, at least nobody that I can find, because it's harder to sell, right? It's harder to make someone want to make permanent sustainable lifestyle changes than it is saying, here's your super strict meal plan of foods that you don't even like, but they're low calorie and high protein, really involved, take you 8 to 9 ingredients and 45 minutes to do your weekly prep. And here's your 3 times a week gym routine. And here's your 7 tips to stay motivated this week. Like, you don't need me to tell you that. You could Google that. That's been available forever. And that works for almost nobody, right? Anyway, set that aside. And most of the people that coach that were never fat. You can tell that I've put a lot of money into other people's fucking programs when I was fat. And I felt like shit about it every single time because none of them ended up making any permanent changes. They just led to me being more obsessed with food and logging everything and counting every calorie more meticulously than I did when I was fat in the first place. So it was just kind of a waste of time and a waste of money for me. But nonetheless, 2019, I'd lost 75 pounds in 6 months. And that's after I was having medical issues and panic attacks and really bad medical anxiety and thought that I was having a heart attack, felt like I was going to die. And, my girlfriend just broke up with me, and I moved, and I quit my job, and I had this really big, I'm starting new. And I did 6 months of pseudo-isolation. Outside of work, I completely isolated myself and lost 76 pounds in 6 months. I achieved my goal by 1 pound. And I was so excited that I went out to celebrate. And I celebrated by just going back to the way that things were again for like a month. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and that month after losing the 75 pounds, I gained like 10 pounds back. And I really thought that this was going to be the last time that I struggled with this issue. That 2019, that last time losing weight, I really thought, this is it. And I again found myself looking in the mirror. And I gained 10 pounds back. I'm really into the number on the scale. I got down to 199. Now I'm back up to 209, but the hundreds just felt so fucking good. I can't believe I'm back in the 200s because the difference between 199 and 201 is so big, right? Yeah, I'm sure you've been there too. That's a really rough place to be, and you can work through that. It sucked. It sucked because I'm looking in the mirror after thinking that I would never struggle with this again, and here I am struggling with it again. And I remember literally saying out loud, I wish I had videoed this part, at least I know my struggle. And I thought, because some people don't even know what they struggle with in life. If you just go up to a random person on the side of the road and go, hey, what's the one thing that you should work on? They kind of have to sit there and think about it. At least for me, I know that mine is obesity, mine's being fat, and I know that I'm going to struggle with this for the rest of my life. And I just accepted it as fate. I was like, I'm going to lose weight every summer. And by the time August, September, October rolls around, I'm going to be skinny. Those will be my 3 favorite months out of the year. And then the other 9 months are just going to kind of suck. But I'm going to make the most out of them by eating food that I like in the moment so I can get that short-term pleasure and dopamine. And drink beer and smoke weed and do whatever other dumb shit that I was doing, right, in my mid-20s. That was my reality. I had actually accepted that as my reality. And it wasn't until I heard the story, and if you've listened to episode 1 of this podcast, if you haven't, I'd go listen to it, but I detail all of this, extremely detailed. It wasn't until I had heard the story of this guy named David Goggins, who was also in his mid-20s when he lost weight for the last time. And he did it through extreme overexercising and extreme restriction, which is what I had been doing my whole life as well. He just truly out-disciplined weight loss. And there's very few people in the world that can out-discipline weight loss because they're unwilling to exist in that discipline, in that ultra will state, that white-knuckling state forever. In the case of David Goggins, this guy that inspired me, he went on to become one of the most decorated ultra-distance runners in the world and still lives a very extreme lifestyle in a way that 99.99% of people don't want to. So his methodology for weight loss is not going to work for you unless you want to exist in the extremity and exist in the obsession and exist in becoming a professional athlete where your whole life is mind-body connection and pushing yourself. That's just, most people just don't want that, right? And I love him for that. That was a major part of my story as well, but it's not what I wanted for life. But I'm glad that I had that experience because now I can speak to the extreme side of things in a way that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to. But when I heard his story, there were so many synchronicities between him and I, the way that we grew up in a single mother household. We were the same age. We had the same amount of weight to lose. And I just remember thinking, okay, if this guy could do it, then surely I could do it too. And I took that energy and over the coming years put it into practicing sustainability and practicing language. If there's one thing that I learned from him that I've made my own and found my own ways to speak to myself. But one thing that he really inspired me to do was to practice the words that I speak and to gain control of my own thoughts. So all of my teachings, especially if you're a client of mine, you'll be very familiar with this. All of my teachings are around how to control your mind, your thoughts, and in turn, your actions and how you feel. And a lot of that starts with what you are literally saying to yourself and drawing separation between what you think about yourself and what is actually real. This concept really blew my mind. You can change what you believe. Think about how crazy that is. You can change and you can choose what you believe. People think that we're just given our beliefs and like we can't, our beliefs are a result of our circumstances in life. Sure, but you can actually actively choose to change what you believe, not just about yourself, but about other people and about the world. You can choose to change the religion that you believe in. If you believe in any religion, you can choose to believe, you can choose to change your political ideology if you're someone that's politically involved. Like you can consciously make the decision to change what you believe. And when you change what you believe, your actions change and your feelings about yourself and other people in the world change as well. So if you're someone like me that was sitting there saying, maybe literally saying out loud, or even just thinking, I will be fat forever. That sucks. I will struggle with food forever. That sucks. I will hate my loose skin forever. I will hate my stretch marks forever. I will have medical issues forever. I don't know if I can do it. When Nick did it, he was way younger than me, and Nick's a guy, and I'm a postmenopausal woman, so it's made sense. It makes sense that Nick did it, but I don't know if I can because we're not in the same situation. And Nick only struggled with obesity for like 8 years, and I've struggled with it for 35. So I don't know. Recognize that all of those things, I get it. It makes sense that you feel like that because you've been dealing with this your whole life, the same way that I had, right? It would almost like if you didn't have a little bit of that, that would be concerning. If you were like, oh yeah, for sure, I definitely am going to lose it and keep it off. Yeah, that would be a little concerning because you've been trying for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years a lot of the times, right? Most of us that are fat went on our first diet when we were teenagers. A lot of you were in your 50s or 60s or 70s. So it makes sense that you feel like that. So here's what you're going to do. When that thought comes up, any of those ones, I can't lose weight, right? Any of these limiting beliefs, I can't lose weight or I will be fat forever, any version of that. Ask yourself first, what does it feel like when I say that? You can pause this and say it out loud right now. I will be fat forever. What does that feel like? Probably feels pretty discouraging, pretty unmotivating, pretty helpless. Like, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to be fat forever? What do you want? How am I going to help you if you're going to be fat forever, right? You're going to be depressed forever? Well, why even go to a therapist if you're going to be depressed forever? Why waste your time? If you already know that you're going to be fat forever, it doesn't matter what anybody tries to help you with or what anybody shows you, coaches you, teaches you through. If you're going to be fat forever, no one can help you. I can't help you. If you're going to be depressed forever, no therapist, no guru is ever going to help you work through that depression because you're not even allowing them to. You got a block up from your own language and your own belief in yourself and your own mind. So what we're doing is we're working through the block. Say it out loud. What does it feel like? It feels like shit. And then flip it on its ass. Say the exact opposite. It might be, I will not be depressed forever. I will not be fat forever. What does that feel like? Probably pretty freeing. It might feel like a lie. It might feel a little bit like, okay, yeah, it feels good, but it's not true. That makes sense that it feels like that. So now practice saying this. That makes sense. When you have a negative thought, that makes sense. It's going to free you from the thought. The reason that you're having these negative thoughts is because you have never completely followed through on the thing that you said you were going to do. So you don't believe in yourself. It makes sense that you don't believe in yourself because you have not built yourself into a person worthy of self-belief. Otherwise, you would already believe in yourself. And that probably feels like shit to hear because it kind of feels like shit to say. But it was my reality, and it's the reality of a lot of people listening to this too. The good news is that you can change that. You're not stuck. You can change it. So here's how you develop just a little bit of self-belief. All you need to lose weight and keep it off is 1% self-belief. You have to believe that it is at least possible. If you believe that it's completely impossible, then do not waste your time. Because I wasted my time I feel like I wasted a lot of my life on this shit. And in hindsight, it wasn't a waste because now I can speak to it and help other people through the things that I put myself through. But if you don't have goals to do that, and you truly believe there's a 0% chance, do not waste your time. Do not waste your money. Don't waste your mental effort. Put your mental effort into something else that you believe in. And then potentially you'll develop some self-belief from that and then come back and revisit it when you feel better about yourself. But if you don't think it's possible right now, if you know it's not possible, I strongly recommend not wasting your time because you will end up quitting and you're going to feel like shit and it will feel even more impossible next time. So what we're going to do is address the belief because whatever you believe about yourself is actually the truth. If you believe that you are the kind of person that has some shot in hell at losing weight and keeping it off, then you are. If you don't, then you aren't, right? And a lot of this comes down to, why do you want to lose weight? It's the first question I ask anyone. Why do you want to lose weight? And you can tell within 10 seconds whether or not someone is really serious about it, or they're just like, oh, it would be nice, and you can tell the difference between those two things. For most people, you've got to be extremely serious about it. No amount of going from drinking Pepsi to Diet Pepsi is going to result in permanent change in your body. It's just not, because you're not addressing your mindset by making that one shift to something that's lower calorie, but not necessarily healthier, right? That all being said, whatever you believe about yourself is true. Recognize that you are not the belief. Recognize that myself and others that you may follow have lost weight and kept the weight off naturally. Some people have done that. Fewer people have also in turn developed a healthy relationship with food and do so effortlessly. That's a different level of intentionality that you need to build during the process of weight loss, so that you can actually build healthy relationship with food, not be obsessed, not live in restriction for the rest of your life. All of these things are possible. If you truly don't believe that it's possible for yourself, ask yourself, do you believe that I did it? Because if you also don't believe that I did it, and you don't think that it's possible for you, that's just because you haven't actually witnessed someone that you truly believed had done it before. But as soon as you find someone else that had done the thing that you want to do the way that you wanted to do it, it expands your mind. And you see, okay, there's at least a 1 in a million chance. That's what David Goggins was for me. So here's this guy that lost 110 pounds. I've now also lost exactly 110 pounds. That felt like a synchronicity. And when I started understanding all these synchronicities between his story and mine, I went, shit, if this guy could do it, and I could do just 10% of the shit that he did, I would exceed all the expectations for myself and all the expectations that anyone else in the world ever put on me. So it doesn't need to be me, but find someone that has done the thing that you want to do and implement it into your own life. If you're someone that's depressed, find someone that was more depressed than you, that worked through it, that now does not feel depressed or identify with their own depression, or maybe even doesn't even believe in the concept of depression. Because there's also this reality of like, do you even benefit from believing in depression? That's a whole different topic. But really ask yourself, if you're depressed and you're walking around saying, I'm depressed, how unenabling is that? Imagine if you just didn't believe in the concept of depression and you felt sad, and instead of saying, oh, I'm so depressed, that's why I can't lose weight, that's why I can't do anything, you just went, I actually choose to not even believe in my own depression, because in believing in it, I give it power and I let myself off the hook. So what I'm going to do is pretend that I'm not depressed, do all of the things that a not depressed person would do. This also correlates to obesity. I'm fat. I'm going to choose to believe that I have a healthy mind right now. Your body takes time to catch up, but you can have a healthy mind right now. I'm going to live life as if I am a healthy person and pretend that I'm not fat. And through doing that, I will continue to develop a healthy mind, and my body will catch up to my mind over time. It might take a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how many hundreds of pounds you might have to lose, right? But that concept, that's kind of what manifestation is. It's just existing in the energy of the thing that you already want. It's not so much pretending that you already have it. It's recognizing that you actually already do. It's not pretending. There is a part of you that is not depressed, and you can tap into that. There is a part of you that is healthy because you brush your teeth and you drink water. You might not drink enough water, but you do some healthy things. So there is a part of you that gives at least one fuck about your health. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be alive, right? If you didn't give a single fuck about your own health, you wouldn't be going to work. You wouldn't be getting out of bed. You wouldn't be walking ever. You'd be drinking no water. You would be dead. So there is a part of you that cares, and you can tap into that part of you that cares as a way to start developing some self-belief and recognize, oh shit, if I didn't care, I literally would not be alive right now. It is the belief in your ability is by far the most important indicator on whether or not you will lose weight and whether or not you will keep the weight off. So there's a lot of people that believe that they can lose weight but can't keep the weight off. That's a much tougher one because most of you listening to this have already lost weight before, right? So yes, Nick, I believe I can lose weight. I don't believe I can keep the weight off. So now let's go back through the exercise. That makes sense that you feel like that because in the past you've lost weight and then you haven't kept the weight off. So it would be concerning if you were just like, yes, I absolutely have what it takes to keep the weight off forever because you've never done it, right? That makes sense. Feel the freedom of that makes sense. You can let go of that. But that makes sense that I feel like that. I'm going to give myself permission to practice building sustainable habits anyway, even though I've never done it the right way. That actually results in permanent change. I'm going to give myself permission to figure it out this time, even if I come quote unquote off track or quote unquote fall off or quote unquote cheat on whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing the common sense diet, there is no cheating. But that's how you work through this. And then you just pretend because this is actually already inside of you. Push it out. Don't pull it in from the sky. Push it out of your body into the world, into action. That you are the sustainable lifestyle change, permanent healthy person that does default to healthy habits. What would the healthy version of you do? What would a healthy person do? What would they eat for breakfast? Eat that for breakfast. If you have zero, not even 0.01%, if you have zero self-belief, I say you shouldn't waste your time, but before you truly quit, try this. Write down on a piece of paper, forget that. Pull out your phone, take a video of yourself saying, tomorrow morning, I'm going to go on a 3-minute walk outside at 7 a.m. A 3-minute walk. Set an alarm for 6:55 a.m. Set your shoes out in your shorts or your shirt or your coat, whatever you need to go on a 3-minute, just down the block and back. Go outside at 7 o'clock, come back at 7:03. And when you get back, before you come inside, watch the video that you just recorded the night before of you saying that you're going to do something and then actually doing it. Feel what it is like to say that you're going to do something and then actually do the thing. That's how you develop self-belief. The reason why you don't believe in yourself is because you've been saying that you're going to do something for your whole life and you've never done it. So let's dumb it down. Let's make it smaller. Say that you're going to do the smallest thing that you can do and let that build over time. We're not in a rush to lose weight as fast as possible. We're in a rush to build a healthy mindset as quickly as possible. And if you did that 3-minute walk every day for 7 days, meaning Monday through Friday, and then also woke up at the same time on Saturday and Sunday, even if you were tired, if you just made yourself do that for 1 week, it would change your perspective on the world because you would start subconsciously doing more of the things that you say that you're going to do. You would start trusting yourself more and believing in yourself more, and you would start becoming more of a person that is worthy of your own respect and of your own belief. Think about the people that you respect the most. What is it about them that you respect the most? Really big thing is that when they say they're going to do something, they do it. One of the best ways to develop self-respect, meaning you respect yourself, is to become the kind of person that you respect. And the easiest way to do that is to become the kind of person that says they're going to do something and then actually does the thing. It's really hard to respect yourself. Let me reframe that. It was really hard for me to respect myself when I kept saying year after year that I'm going to lose weight for real this time and then just gained it back every single time. How could I believe in myself? I didn't even love myself. It literally got to the point where I fucking hated myself because I was full of shit. And everyone knew that I was full of shit because I was full of shit. I lied every single year and I never followed through. I tried really hard. I was just trying at things that were unsustainable until I eventually quit. I was so disciplined. I was so strict. I would go a month without having a single calorie over my limit. I was so nutritionally dialed in. You would shit yourself if you saw what I was eating. But I was disciplined at things that I couldn't do forever. You take the discipline and you put it into something that you can do forever. That's when you actually make the permanent and sustainable lifestyle changes. So in summary, if you're someone that has zero self-belief, practice something really small, saying that you're going to do it, and then do the thing. And then see if that gets you to 0.01% self-belief. If it doesn't, don't waste your time with weight loss because you're just going to be driving yourself fucking crazy. Do some other things to develop self-belief that have nothing to do with food or nutrition. It might be a work thing. It might be a family thing. Come back to it when you believe in your ability to do things. And that might take some time, but it might also take 1 minute. So snap your finger, give yourself permission to not do the whole takes a month to build a habit bullshit. You could just do that today, hypothetically. Give it a try, see how it goes. What you believe about yourself is true. If you believe that you can lose weight, then you can. If you believe that you can lose weight, but you can't keep it off, then you can't keep it off. If you believe that you cannot lose weight or keep it off, then you cannot lose weight or keep it off. Find someone that has done the thing that you want to do the way you want to do it, and look at their story and recognize they probably didn't have anything that you didn't have. But maybe they did. Maybe they were a little younger. Maybe they had a little bit better genetics, or who knows. That doesn't mean that you still can't do it. It just means it might have been 3% easier for them. And that's fine. It just means it might be 3% harder for you. That just means it'll take 3% longer, or you might have to be 3% more dialed in or 3% more focused than whoever you're comparing yourself to might have had to be. Don't let yourself off the hook. Don't give yourself permission to not live a healthy lifestyle. Regardless of how you feel, you're going to feel better as you continue to make healthy choices. If you made it to the end of the podcast episode, let it be known you absolutely have what it takes to lose weight and keep it off forever. Practice your language. Practice what you're saying to yourself. Your words dictate your thoughts, dictate your actions, dictate your feelings. Write that down. Your words dictate your thoughts, dictate your actions, dictate your feelings. If the goal is to feel good, you've got to speak good things to yourself so that you think good thoughts, that you do good things, so that you feel good about yourself. And the cycle continues. It's easy to speak highly of yourself when you're out on a walk. You know how you get on a walk? You say, I'm the kind of person that goes on a walk in the morning. And you say that, you go, oh, that feels kind of good. That feels good. Feels like something a healthy person would say. You start thinking healthy things, and then you take the healthy action, which is going on the walk. And then you feel good because you're on the walk. Because it just feels good when you're outside, and you feel good when you get back because you said you were going to do something, you did it. That loop continues. It's a positive feedback loop, and it continues into permanent lifestyle change. If you need help with this kind of stuff, if you resonate with my story and you've lost weight and then gained the weight back, and you're actually fucking done with it, not if you're just like, Nick, I kind of like the podcast. Yeah, it's good. I resonate a lot. I might try that tip, and then you just kind of forget about it when the show's over. That was me my whole life. There's nothing wrong with that, right? What's happening by you listening is that you're getting these little seeds planted in your mind that might sprout out in 1 to 2 years, but eventually they will come out when the time is right for you. If the time is right for you right fucking now, and you're ready to lose the weight and actually keep the weight off starting now before we get to the fucking new year, because we know the New Year's resolution is kind of bullshit, let's do it together. Click the link in the description of this podcast episode. Fill out the 3-minute application. It's going to take you to my calendar, and we'll see if working together would be right for both you and for myself. And if it is, then we'll kick some ass. And if it isn't, I'll point you in the direction of something that might be. If you made it to the end, please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple or Podbean or whichever platform you're listening to this on. It really helps me as a storyteller get this message out to other people such as yourself that might really benefit from it. And this message is just really different from the other things that we're seeing on the internet. So if you resonate with the realness and the rawness of this podcast, that's the best way that you can support us, by leaving us an honest review. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for supporting. We're almost 1 year into podcasting, and I'm excited to celebrate that with all of you here in the next few weeks. See y'all next week.